to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Leizel, and for today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to achieve a flawless base. Now, I have noticed lately that I've been getting comments from you guys complimenting my skin, telling me how nice it looks, telling me to drop the skincare routine. And I'll be the first to say that my skin is not perfect. Those of you guys who are OG subbies would know that I did struggle with intense, crazy acne a few years ago, and ever since then my skin has definitely improved. I've gone through lots of ups and downs when it comes to my skin. Lately, however, my skin has been crazy good, and I bring it down to me being happy and stress-free. However, in the past week, I have been breaking out just a little bit, and I think it's because that time of the month is coming up. Yes, we all go through it. So I feel like this is the perfect time to show you guys how I achieve a flawless face. I feel like this isn't going to be anything new for you guys, but I just really wanted to focus on the application of foundation, concealer, and bronzer to add color back into the skin to give me this crazy, intense, flawless, bronzed look. Another thing is I wanted to keep this cost effective for you guys, so I did this all using drugstore makeup products so that you can look good without hurting your wallet. Before I get into things, if you do find this video helpful or you do enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new, you know what to do. Join the crew by hitting the little red subscribe button down below and click the notification bell so you can stay updated with all the videos I post. I also just wanted to say, for some reason, YouTube doesn't show all of my videos to all of my subscribers. Now, if you want to stay updated and alerted as to when I upload a video, if you don't want to miss a single upload, definitely click the notification bell, because that is when you are going to be notified every single time I upload a video for you guys. So with that being said, if you want to see how I went from this to this, then just keep on watching. So this is how my skin looks freshly cleansed and moisturized. As you can see, it ain't perfect. I don't have any makeup on aside from my lashes and brows. So first things first, it's a given that you want to start with freshly cleansed and moisturized skin. Go for a moisturizer that does suit your skin type. Let that settle in, and then we're going to jump straight into primer. Now this is the primer that I've been using lately, and I find that it's been doing me really well. This is the Loreal Fix and Perfect Makeup Primer. So as I was editing this back just now, I realized that I said it's from L'Oreal, but it's actually from Rimmel. I don't know why I said L'Oreal, but it is the Rimmel Fix and Perfect Primer. It smooths, resurfaces, brightens, mattifies, and protects. And from what I have heard, this is a dupe for the Too Faced Hangover RX Primer, which is a primer that I do love. So you could totally apply this to your skin with your bare hands. Today I'm just using a buffing brush from Real Techniques, but of course you can just use your bare fingers. For me personally, I do feel that primer is an essential part when it comes to creating a flawless makeup base, just because it is going to give you that barrier in between your skin and the makeup. The purpose of it is to smooth and even everything out so you have a nice canvas to apply your products on top of. So now that I've given that primer time to settle into the skin, I'm going to be going in with foundation. Now today, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Superstay 24-hour full coverage foundation. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take a pump of that to the back of my hand, and then I'm gonna take my ring finger and dot that evenly all over my face. I like to start from the center of my face and then work outwards, just because I feel like the center is where I want the most coverage and I want it to look the most flawless. And you'll notice as I'm applying it and dotting it over my face, I am focusing on any imperfections that I may have, whether that be scarring, redness, or breakouts. So to blend that foundation into the skin today, I'm using a dampened Miracle complexion sponge from Real Techniques. Now, I personally feel like when I want a full coverage, flawless base, I want it to look full coverage and flawless, but I don't want it to look heavy and cakey, and I feel like using a dampened sponge to blend your foundation in will definitely help with achieving that look. So as you can see, the motion that I'm using is just stippling motions. I'm not swiping it or trying to move or smear the foundation around. I'm really using the sponge to do all the work for me. Now, when it comes to the forehead, I don't really like to apply too much foundation to this area. I'm not trying to create a mask around the perimeter of my face, if that makes sense. I feel like it's very unnatural for all of your skin to look completely even. In terms of applying makeup, you'll notice that people typically like to bronze up the perimeters of their face because that is naturally what our face does when we get a tan, is that we tend to get darker, especially on our forehead. But I do of course want to focus on any redness that's going on in this area and then kind of taper off the product and let it blend out towards the perimeters of my face. I'm not trying to make a mask like in this area, if that makes sense. So it's at this point that I'll go back in with a little bit of extra leftover foundation and just dot it on any areas that I feel may need just a little bit of extra attention. Typically, I only like to have that one layer of foundation because that's all I need to even out my skin tone. However, I do understand that other breakouts and such may need a little bit of extra attention. So that's when I like to go back in with a little bit of extra foundation, just to lightly go over those areas, and I feel like that really helps to give a little bit of extra coverage without adding too much. You don't have to go back in and go crazy and add a whole nother layer to your face if you don't need it. And that's really going to help with avoiding the heavy caked on foundation look. So that is the initial base done. Now I'm going to move on to concealing and highlighting. Now as you can see, everything is all nice and even and smoothed out, and you could totally leave it like this, but I do have some darkness going on underneath my eyes, and I do want to kind of lift and brighten up my face a little more. So for that, today I'm going to be using the Maybelline Age Rewind Concealer. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and start applying that to the under eye areas first. I am being quite generous with it, and that's part of the reason as to why I wanted to be light with the initial base, because we are going to be going on top with more products, so you want to kind of build as you go. This technique is not only going to conceal that area, but it's also really going to help brighten and lift it. Once again, just blending that into the skin with the dampened sponge. So as you can see, I have blended that concealer in for the most part. Now, just a couple of little extra tips for you guys. When you get to this area of the nose right here, the very crevice, you really want to make sure that you're pressing the sponge into there so that you don't miss anything, because I do find that foundation and concealer tend to separate in this area, so really pressing it and working it into the skin is going to help to prevent that. The concealer is all blended in, but we can make it look even more blended and even and flawless, and what I like to do to achieve that is to take the side of the sponge that I use to apply the foundation and kind of just work at the edges towards the center of where I applied that concealer. I feel like doing this technique really makes sure that the concealer doesn't take over the face and it's nice and blended but concentrated and controlled. I found in the past when I tend to blend out my concealer, it gets really blown out and it starts to take over the face. But you can kind of bring it back down by using that side of your sponge with whatever foundation is left over there and just start to work at the edges, kind of like if you were to apply too much bronzer or blush, you'd work at the edges and kind of pull it towards the center of where you applied it. So when it comes to creasing in the under eye area, I know that is a concern for a lot of you guys. It is definitely my biggest concern for myself because I do have some fine lines going on underneath there. My biggest tip is to just set it. Now, as you would have noticed, I haven't set the rest of my face, but when it comes to my under eyes, I do like to go ahead and set that concealer straight away, because if you don't set it, then it gives it time to settle into those fine lines, and then you're gonna have to go back in and blend it out to avoid those little lines anyway. So I feel like it's just important to set it as soon as you can. So for that, I'm using this one from Australis. This is their Ready Set Go finishing powder in True Translucent. Now I know this is a brand that isn't readily available overseas, especially in the US. This is an Australian brand. An alternative to this would be a translucent powder that Maybelline does. I'll leave a little picture right here. Very similar to this, it's just a loose version. Any type of really finely milled translucent powder is going to be great for this purpose. You want to make sure that you get a powder that is very finely milled to the under eye area, because I feel that is what contributes to creasing. If a powder is heavier, then it is going to be more likely to build up and crease up in those areas. So I've just set the under eye area. I'm not going to set the rest of my face because I'm still not done with applying cream products. For me personally, I do love a good powder bronzer. Some of my favorite bronzers are all powder compacts, but I feel like when you want to achieve that really flawless, smooth blend of bronzer and contour, then a cream is the way to go. So this is the L'Oreal Infallible Longwear Shaping Stick in number 220 Toffee Caramel. And as you can see, I'm just applying this to all the areas where you'd want to naturally add some color back into your face, to bronze up and to just give yourself a little bit of contour. So we're starting off with the cheeks and the perimeter of my hairline. So I'm just using a synthetic brush from Real Techniques to work that into the skin. I'm using stippling and circling motions to blend that in. And I know at first it's going to look completely crazy and muddy, but I assure you, if you keep blending and keep working at it, it is eventually going to be nice and blended into the skin. So if you do feel like you added a little bit too much, you went a little overboard, you went too crazy with it, what you can do to tone it down. Once again, we're going to take our beloved sponge that's been with us from the very start. We're going to take that side again that we used to apply the foundation, and we're just going to work at the edges. This is going to kind of tone down the color if you feel like you went too crazy with it, or if you feel like you pulled it into areas where you didn't want the bronzer to go, then this is where you can kind of go back in and bring it back without messing it up, because essentially you can blend it out, add some more, blend it out, add some more. There really is no end to it. So now that that is all done, we are almost done with the base. This part next is completely optional. You don't have to do this, but because I have already gone ahead and highlighted my nose with the concealer earlier, what I'm going to do is also use that same product to contour it. So I'm taking a Precision Round P82 brush from Sigma. I'm just going to go ahead and take that brush directly to the cream product, and I'm going to blend it on the back of my hand just to take off any excess so it's not too intense when I go in and apply it to my nose. So when I like to do my nose contour, I start from the very head of the brows and then I pull it down through the bridge and then towards the tip of my nose. And as you can see, I'm not just laying down the color, I am also blending it as I go. I'm being really gentle with it just so it's not too intense. And then once again, to tone that down a little bit, I like to go in with the sponge and just ever so lightly blend over the contour that I just laid down. At this point, I'm pretty happy with how everything's looking, so I'm going to go in with the powder once again and take that on the Sigma Tapered Highlighter brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and set the rest of the areas. Now, as you would have seen, I did apply powder underneath my eyes, but I really only focused it on this area right here where my fine lines are, just because I didn't want to give that any chance to crease up on me. But at this point, now that all the products are laid down, I like to go in with the powder and apply it to all the areas that I want to set, especially in this T-zone area, because like I mentioned in the very beginning, I am an oily skin type. Now, when it comes to all the other areas of my face that I haven't yet set, especially the areas where I applied that cream bronzer slash contour, I'm going to go in with a powder bronzer. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, one of my faves from the drugstore, super inexpensive, but it is amazing. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this over all the areas where I applied that cream bronzer. Now, this next step is optional, but you guys know that I do love to glow. So best drugstore highlighter, hands down, the Maybelline Master Chrome highlighter in Molten Gold. Hands down, the best drugstore highlighter of all time. It's even better than some of my higher end highlighters that I own. I forgot to mention to you guys, you can't be having a smooth, flawless canvas with crusty looking lips. So this right here is my #1 recommendation for lip balm. I kid you not. I've tried every lip balm that there is on the market and nothing does my lips better than this stuff does. My lips are smooth as hell. This does it every single time and I love it. And it's super inexpensive. This is, again, an Australian product, but if you can get your hands on this stuff, you need it. It's like $5, $4 a tube. If I could like give one to every single one of you guys, I could, because this stuff is freaking amazing. Last but not least, you guys, even though I do have an oily skin type, it is very important to me to make sure that my skin is well hydrated. I hate that feeling of just being like completely matte and tight in my face. So I'm going to spritz my face with the Badescu facial spray. It is so important to me to keep my face nice and hydrated, and I feel like keeping your face hydrated really does keep the oils at bay. Alright you guys, that's the end of this video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you're still here at the end watching and you are not yet subscribed to my channel, you may as well subscribe. So click the little red button down below before you go so you don't miss any more videos that I post. As always, I'm going to leave a list of all the products that I used in this video down in the description box below for your reference, and you can also find all the links to my social media accounts down there as well. So with that being said, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. I will talk to you in the comments, and I shall see you all in my next video.